The late morning sun glinted off the highway asphalt, heat waves dancing above the endless stretch of Interstate 40. Truckers guzzled bitter coffee from dented thermoses, tourists yawned and stretched tired limbs, and families navigated overtired children toward the restrooms. Everything seemed ordinary. Just another Tuesday, except it wasn't. Silas Reaper Johnson sat alone in the corner of Riverside Rest Stop, leather vest adorned with the infamous Hell's Angels winged skull. At 6'4" with a scarred face and arms etched in faded military tattoos, he was a man who commanded attention without a word. Most people looked at him and saw danger. A criminal. A biker. Something to avoid. But Silas knew something they didn't. Appearances were a mask, and real danger was rarely obvious. Today, danger was hiding in plain sight. A little girl, no older than 8, sat in a booth near the window with 2 adults who could pass as her parents. She wasn't playing, she wasn't fidgeting. Her small hands moved slowly over the table, forming signs in American Sign Language. Help. Danger. Not my parents. Silas's training in the Marines, combined with years volunteering with hearing-impaired veterans, kicked in instantly. His eyes locked on hers. She was silently begging for rescue. Everything he had ever learned in combat, everything that had kept him alive in war zones, flashed through his mind: read the room, assess the threat, protect the innocent. And in that moment, he knew, he was the only one who could help her. In less than 15 minutes, a routine Tuesday would become a rescue that would unravel a trafficking network, unite a family, and prove that true heroes come in unexpected forms, sometimes on 2 legs, sometimes on 2 wheels, and sometimes simply by paying attention when the world looked the other way. It was supposed to be just another Tuesday morning at Riverside Rest Stop. Truckers filled their thermoses with bitter coffee, tourists stretched after hours on the road, families herded sleepy kids toward the restrooms. The scent of greasy hash browns mixed with diesel and highway dust. Silas Reaper Johnson sat alone in a corner booth, his leather vest marked with the infamous Hell's Angels winged skull. At 6'4" with a scarred face and arms covered in faded military tattoos, he was a living warning: approach with caution. Most people did. Mothers pulled children closer. Patrons averted their gaze. And Silas didn't mind. 20 years in the Marines, 15 years riding with the club, had taught him appearances could deceive. People saw what they wanted: a dangerous biker, a criminal, a threat. What they didn't see: the Purple Heart recipient, the volunteer at the VA hospital, the man who spent Saturdays reading to children at the local library. He sipped his coffee, black, bitter, strong enough to strip paint, when a chill crawled up his spine. Not a sound, not a movement, just the same gut instinct that had saved him countless times in combat. Then he saw her. A little girl. 8 years old. Blonde hair in neat braids, wide brown eyes that held too much fear. She sat in a booth near the window with a man and a woman who might have been her parents, but something was wrong. The man was heavy-set, wrinkled suit sweating under the AC. The woman thin, nervous, constantly checking her phone. But the girl, she was trying to speak without words. Her hands moved slowly across the table, forming shapes, American Sign Language. Silas knew immediately. Help. Danger. Not my parents. He froze, stomach knotting. A silent cry for rescue. Her eyes flicked at him briefly. That was all he needed. Every muscle in his body tensed. He couldn't rush in. Traffickers were dangerous. Armed. Unpredictable. One wrong move could end her life. He needed backup. Under the table, he typed quickly into the Hells Angels San Bernardino group chat, code red. Possible trafficking. Riverside Rest Stop. Need brothers. Silent approach. Backup was on the way. And the Hells Angels had zero tolerance for those who harm children. The man and woman whispered urgently. 3 more hours, then handoff. Done. She keeps trying to get attention, hissed the woman. We should have sedated her, like the last one. Can't. Buyer wants her alert. Pays more when responsive. Silas's hands clenched, jaw tight. But he stayed calm. Calculated. Waiting, then he noticed a young mother nearby, struggling with 2 toddlers and a baby. He approached quietly. Ma'am, he whispered, gentle despite his size. I need your help. Don't react. Just call 911 from the bathroom. Tell them child abduction in progress, but no sirens. She hesitated. Then nodded, trust written on her face. She rushed to the restroom, phone in hand. Silas returned to his table, blocking the booth from the exit. The girl's eyes widened. She signed frantically, help now. Leaving soon. Silas nodded imperceptibly, help is coming. Stay calm. Minutes later, the roar of 8 motorcycles filled the parking lot. His brothers had arrived. They dismounted with military precision, spreading out and forming a quiet perimeter. Tank, his closest friend, signaled silently. 2 suspects. 1 child. Hostage situation. The man in the booth panicked, yanking the girl from her seat. She whimpered, tiny cries cutting through the tension. Silas rose, blocking the doorway. I don't think so, he said softly. She's hurt. Maybe wait for paramedics. She's fine. We're her parents, the woman snapped. Silas stared her down. She's been signing to me for 10 minutes. Says you kidnapped her. The man lunged for his waistband, but Tank and 2 other bikers intercepted him in seconds. Raven blocked the woman. Not today, sweetheart, she said, arms like steel cables. The girl ran into Silas's arms. Trembling. Crying. Safe at last. He signed gently. You're safe now. Sirens approached, quietly. Police. State troopers. Then FBI. Agent Chen arrived, inspecting the scene. Silas explained everything. Sophie Martinez, 8 years old, had been kidnapped 3 days prior. Her little brother Miguel, 5, was still missing. The FBI launched a high-speed search. Within hours, the van was located. Miguel was safe, scared and hungry, but unharmed. 3 more children were rescued from the traffickers' staging warehouse. Sophie ran to her brother, hugging him so tightly they nearly toppled over. You're safe, she whispered. The rest stop erupted with relief and quiet awe. Bystanders whispered, watched, and began reconsidering assumptions about the Hells Angels. Agent Chen approached Silas. Off the record? You saved lives today. He shook his head. She saved herself. I just listened. Sophie hugged him one last time before leaving with child services. She signed one final message, you're my hero. Silas knelt, signing back, no. You're the hero. You had the courage to ask for help. Silas sat in the children's section of San Bernardino Public Library. Sophie and Miguel sat in front. Safe. Happy. Their family had moved to town. Mr. Silas, Sophie signed eagerly, can you teach us more sign language? So we can help others. Silas smiled gently. Let's start today. One girl's courage had sparked awareness. One moment had become a wave. And for Silas, it was just another Tuesday. Another day of being exactly who he had always been, a protector, a guardian, a man whose oath had never expired, because somewhere out there, another Sophie might be raising her hands. And someone would be paying attention. 8 bikes roared to life. Thunder in perfect formation. Silas glanced back once, remembering Sophie's bravery, her tiny hands signing a lifeline. Then, with a steady exhale, he said softly, now we ride. There's always someone waiting for help. And into the fading sun, they rode. Heroes in leather, paying attention when it mattered most.